Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country. The only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect With Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Glad to have you along. It's a Thursday morning. Hey, we're talking to two experts here about gliding. That's right, soaring and gliding. Do you like flying? Well, I'm not sure I do, but 436, MeTV option 11, to each his own, right? We're back with our program here on Connect With Me in a moment. Welcome back to the program here on Connect With Me on a Thursday morning. I'm glad you're along here for the ride. Glad you're here. Hey, tomorrow, I just want to promote tomorrow's program. We have a three-time world boxing champion in the house tomorrow. His name is Tony the Tiger Lopez. He'll be a first-time guest here. Might even bring one of his championship belts. He'll be here to talk about inspiration, drive, and determination, what it takes to succeed in this day and age. I know a lot of these young kids, they're into electronics and they're on their cell phones and have no motivation to do anything else other than have their head buried and text necking. You ever heard of that? Anyway, today's program, you can call in at 436 MeTV option 11. Can't wait for that program tomorrow. And then Monday, Janet Stoll-Lee is going to be here from the Clovis Police Department. She is a very nice young lady. Used to work with her at KMPH, so look forward to that as well. So a couple of good programs coming up here in the next few days, including today's program. Can't wait for this thing to start. However, first I got to remind you, every Monday through Friday, live here on Comcast, channel 187 and 43.6 and 13.1. And as I understand it, are we on 8.1 as well, live? So that means we're on, anyway. Yes, we're on 4 stations live now from 10 to 11 o'clock, and then the replay comes up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 and 4.6 Biz TV at 8 o'clock tonight. And if you want to throw a Twitter my way, you most are certainly welcome at John Mallos, MeTV. And usually if you tweet, you can tweet anything you want, even if it's a complaint, no problem there. Hey, today I want to talk about flying and gliding and soaring. I don't know how many of you like to fly, but each and every time I think about it, I get those sweaty palms and I get a little nervous and don't necessarily like to fly, although I have flown so many times across the country and across the globe, but it's not one of my favorite things to do. But it might not be the same case for you. I want to roll the videotape and show you exactly what I'm talking about. You might be in love with flying. That's right. It's called the Central California Soaring Club. That's what we're talking about today. Totally committed to soaring and to gliding. Look at that. It looks like a lot of fun if you like going in the air. The club was formed back in the 1970s by a small group based out of Medford Field in Tulare. Now, the club eventually moved to Sequoia Field, then to Avenal Airport, a place the club now calls home. Now, believe it or not, about 16 to 18 years ago, a group of about 30 gliders joined together and they bought the Avenal Airport, so it will always remain dedicated to the sport of soaring or gliding. Soaring and or gliding, whatever you want to call it, it's one and the same, is a recreational sport. The pilots fly an unpowered aircraft. The sport began in the 1920s, during which time most aviators were actually trying to improve upon flying with powered aircraft. Look at that. The beauty of that is just incredible. The Germans, by the way, were designing and developing gliders at the time. In the 1930s, the sport spread to other countries around the world, and it was a demonstration sport, believe it or not, back in the 1936 Summer Olympic Games in Berlin. How big are these gliders? How far, how high can they go? How fast can they go? How much does it cost? How do you get this plane with no engine to the highest point before taking off? So many questions, so much to talk about in terms of this sport. Soaring offers a sense of freedom for the pilots who rely totally on their skills. And down she goes, and we'll be up again soon. Oh man, look at that. That is just a beautiful scene right there. All right, live in our studio right now is Alex Caldwell and Jan Zanuto of the Central California Soaring Club. They are both here to answer your questions about soaring and/or gliding, one in the same. 436-ME-TV option 11. We'll talk to them how this club started and what soaring is all about, and answer all of those questions that you have on your mind and on mine. We're back in just a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Frigidaire Gallery appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an Energy Star qualified French door Frigidaire Gallery refrigerator. Quality appliances for the way you live. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise.
We need help to find this missing child. Hallie Cummings was 7 when she went missing. She was last seen in Satsuma, Florida in February of 2009. This is what we believe she looks like today at age 11. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring Hallie Cummings home.
Back here on the program on Connect with Me, and I'm glad you're here. And we've got a couple of guests in the studio here, Alex Caldwell, Jan Zanuto of the Central California Soaring Club. We already have a phone call. You want to take that, guys? Sure. Might as well. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. What's your question?
What's a weight limit in one of these planes? I don't think the big boy can get in there, but do you have to have a license to fly this, or commercial, or what? But those two questions that's in my top of my head.
Well, it depends a lot on the individual glider. There's a lot of them have a weight limit about 240 pounds. It's pretty typical. It's because of the two things. One is there's what we call a maximum gross weight that the glider can weigh when it leaves the ground. And then there's also what we call weight and balance, which means the position of the weight in relation to the center of gravity of the glider affects how it performs and whether it's within limits to be controllable. So if you're either too light or way too heavy, there might be a problem for some gliders. But there's some gliders can take bigger people, so it kind of depends.
It probably depends on the size of the cockpit.
Right.
Yeah, some of the earlier German sailplanes are pretty slender in the cockpit, and my shoulders are pretty wide. So the glider that I just bought, I had to do some looking in order to find one that would fit me. As far as the license goes, it is a private pilot license that you obtain and that you have to have in order to fly these.
Wow. Well, hey, let's roll some videotape of gliding and we can talk about this. And I posed so many questions during the monologue. 436-ME-TV option 11, talking about soaring/gliding, and that's when you get up in that plane, has no engine. You're basically free falling, right? That's what you're doing. Is that what you're doing in this plane? Like look at this video here. Are you free falling, or are you actually flying in a plane like this?
Well, in soaring, you're always flying downhill, so to speak. You're gliding, and that's what keeps the airplane moving forward. Some of the basic aerodynamics.
You're descending, right?
You are actually descending. However, what you're looking for are columns of air that are rising. And so when you're in those rising columns of air, you're still, of course, flying through them, and the net result is that you climb.
Yeah, go ahead.
I tell people about, imagine if they were walking down an escalator that was going up the opposite direction that they were walking. And if it was going up slower than they were walking down, they would be going backwards, going up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing. You're always actually coming down, but if the air's going up equal to or faster than you're coming down, then you can rise.
Well, look at this video right here, Alex and Jan. If you're coming upon a mountain and it looks like you're about to hit the mountain, can you pull up like you can on a regular plane, or do you have to turn it and go around it?
Well, this was actually me on a day, I think back in probably November, when there wasn't that much lift. And so the closer you get to the mountains, you'll find some rising air that sustains you. So there are some times when you're doing what's called ridge flying, when you're flying parallel to the mountain, right next to the mountain. And that'll be because the mountain has heating, or because the air is hitting the mountain and going over it. You have to be fairly close to the mountain, but you always have to maintain. You can't pull back too much because you've got to maintain your airspeed.
Yeah. So, it's possible to fly equal to the mountain as long as you don't run into it, obviously. But how is it just a judgment call in the cockpit?
Yes. Yeah. You don't want to get too close.
You don't want to get too close.
And you definitely want to turn away from the terrain because you're making your turns.
Because you can't pull up and go above the mountain, right? Like you can in a regular plane. Am I getting that right or no?
Well, you don't have power that you can hit the throttle with and like a jet engine and hit the afterburner and go straight up like the jets do and things, the fighters. But so and sometimes you can go up if you happen to get a good patch of rising air. You can go up quite fast, but you can't count on that 100% to enable you to head straight for a mountain and assume that you're going to be able to get over. You always have to leave yourself what we call an out.
Yeah.
So that you can.
Let me ask you something. Is this safer than actual flying with an engine?
Sure.
You think so?
I think so. The glide ratio of these gliders is upwards of 40, 45 to 1, 50 to 1, which means for every...
Run those numbers by me again, and what do they mean?
So if I just pick one of the numbers, let's say 45 to 1, which is a moderately performing glider, that means for every 45 feet that it's going forward, it only drops 1 foot.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, you could be a mile high and you could glide 45 miles.
Wow.
Assuming the air was perfect and it was still and there was no descending air, a lot of things.
So if you're a mile up, you can glide for how long? 45 miles?
Whatever your glide ratio is, 45 miles. Of course, that's not guaranteed. There's other factors that play into it. But a typical Cessna has...
Hang on, caller.
About a quarter of that, let's say.
Yeah, so you could glide for a mile up, you can glide from here to Merced.
In
for
theory.
The most part.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah.
All right. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I was wondering, what is the record for gliding? I mean, is there a distance record, or have they made it across the U.S. a glider without stopping? What's the record? Thank you.
I just looked that up this morning. I knew that would come up, and there's one record. It's about 1,900 miles. And there are several ways of establishing these records. There's straight out, there's out and back, there's a triangle, but the highest one that I saw was roughly 1,900 miles.
Man, and how high up was that?
A
couple of miles, maybe?
That I don't remember.
Yeah. We got to take a break. We are here with Alex Caldwell and Jan Zanuto of the Central California Soaring Club. It's an amazing sport, and it began in the 20s. The Germans tried to perfect it in the 30s and during World War II, but we have it here today, the Central California Soaring Club. When we come back, we'll talk about that club, how it was formed, what it's all about, when do they meet, and where do they fly? 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're back with our program in just a moment.
most watched news channel in Europe.
A top secret location. It's the spies who love me, bringing together MeTV's top super spies to fight evil at a memorable moment's notice. They're daring.
That's right.
Brave.
Now what are we gonna do?
The best we can.
Suave.
Does that apply to me, Oscar?
Possibly.
And smart.
The old finger in the gun trick.
Maxwell Smart.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program, connect with me on MeTV Fresno. You can call in at 436-MeTV option 11. And we're here with Alex Caldwell and Jan Zanuto, Central California Soaring Club. Let's roll the videotape. We have plenty to show you from high above the ground here in the Central Valley. We're talking about the Central California Soaring Club guys, and I kind of briefly touched on, there's another absolutely beautiful picture. Just that looks like a painting almost, doesn't it? It's beautiful.
Yeah,
just gorgeous.
Every time I go up, to me, it's like the first time. It's just
really
it doesn't cease to amaze me. Yeah.
What about you, Alex?
Same thing. It's like you know, when you imagine what it'd be like to be in heaven, you know, be an angel or something. it's you're floating around these clouds like that.
That's the cockpit right there, huh?
It is.
Wow.
And this guy's
people.
And they're up at Cloud Base, which is where you want to be. They're most likely going cross country in this video here.
Huh. That's amazing. Just amazing footage there. So talk a little bit about the Central California Soaring Club and how this thing formed, how many members there are. If you join, is there a you know, is there an annual fee that you have to pay? And furthermore, where do you guys glide? Where do you go to glide? Like, you go up to Yosemite or what? Who wants to kick it off?
Alex, you're better for the club.
Well, the club started in the 70s, about, I think around 1974 in Tulare. Soaring's kind of a social sport because you need help to get your glider put together and to launch it, and you need a tow plane and things like that. So it's kind of natural. People that live in a certain area that like to do it, they find each other. And a group from Tulare, they bought a tow plane and they flew out of Mefford Field in Tulare, and they had a two-place trainer and then a single-place 126 sailplane. And then they bought what's called a Caller, which is like an ag plane that they used for a tow plane. And it was a bunch of glider pilots there. And then they attracted more people because they had the trainer. And
what year was this? So like
this is about 1974, I think, or maybe a little before that, maybe 72. I know they would have a contest every year, and it started in 74. So the club probably did start a little bit before that, probably around 1970, I think, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
so now how many members do you guys have, Jan?
There's about, sorry.
No.
There's about 60 now.
About 60.
And probably about 50 are active, I think.
Yeah. And say I wanted to join, what would my membership be per year?
It costs, well, we have a $100 initiation fee, and then you join what's called the Soaring Society of America, which we are part of. Our club is a chapter of that organization, and they help us get insurance. So everybody has to be a member of the Soaring Society. So that's $64 a year. And then
that's cheap.
It's $40 a month dues, and then you can use the glider all you want for the $40.
So you don't have to have your own glider.
No,
is that
no,
it?
you don't.
You can. Who owns these gliders? The club does.
The club, yeah.
Well, the ones that the fiberglass gliders that you're seeing here in the videos. This is me.
Is that yours? You own
this
it?
is the one that I purchased this one. But the club owns several gliders that are trainers, and then aircraft that you can transition up into the more high performance ones like what you see here.
Yeah.
And it's really affordable, actually.
It really is. It sounds like it. I mean, it's just you have to take, okay, like for example, look at the landing here. Wow. Is that just in an open field?
No, that's
at
the end of the runway.
That's at the end of the runway?
Right.
That looks like a grass field, though.
We typically try not to tie up operations. If we're operating out of an airport that has a paved runway, then we usually are off to the side or off to the end so that we don't tie up the operations for the powered aircraft on the paved runway.
You land on, you put wheels down? There are wheels down, or do you
Yes.
just... Okay, you land on wheels, but you're gliding, so you can land on grass.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to land on pavement.
Well, if we land, and the goal of the soaring, well, one of the goals of soaring is as you progress in soaring, you eventually want to start flying cross-country, and you do these cross-country trips. You mentioned where we go. Typical destination is New Kayama. That's a typical turning point. That's down below Taft. The other day I flew up to Hollister and turned around and came back. And if, say, I was halfway there and I had somehow gotten out of the rising air currents, I couldn't find them, then I could land in a field. A glider lands really slow. A glider will land at about 38 miles an hour. And if you touch down in a field, you're only going to roll a really short distance, and then the glider will stop. Then you have to get your trailer and come get your glider.
That's what I was going to ask. I want to get into that in the next segment, because if you're flying cross country, I guess you've got to take the trailer with you, right? So you can take it up to the highest point and to start gliding again. And who knows how long would it take to sail across the country? Real quick before we go to break, Alex.
Well, to go all the way across the country is
or
not
to soar across the country, not sail.
It would take you several segments. In fact, they have a thing going right now where they have this little trophy. It looks like an albatross bird, and they're flying it across the country in gliders it's taken them about 3 or 4 years actually to get to the Washington D.C. area from Nevada, because the soaring conditions are not that good in certain
few
parts.
And far between the soaring positions.
It depends on terrain.
Yeah.
So if there's rising air currents here, there may not be rising air currents, a little bit further in the direction that you're going. It's not guaranteed.
You don't know what the trade winds are going to be like, right? That's the
the western,
so to speak.
The western states are very good soaring conditions, like Nevada, Utah, eastern part of California, the desert areas, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. But as you get into the East Coast, the conditions get worse,
Okay. All right, got to go to a break here, and we're talking with Alex Caldwell, Jan Zanuto, Central California Soaring Club. We'll get into more of what their club is about in just a moment. Hey, 436 Me TV, option 11. Back in a moment.
Retro TV, your home for classic television. The greatest shows in history are here for you to enjoy. Join Cosby and Colt as secret agent men in I Spy. Ride along the Ponderosa with the Cartwrights in Bonanza. Hit the beat with Joe Friday in Dragnet. And that's not all. Retro TV offers endless fun and excitement for the whole family to enjoy. Retro TV, the best in classic television.
You can find Retro TV on over-the-air channel 13.4.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here on the program, 436, Meet TV, option 11. So what's this tow business? You have to tow the plane up to the highest point. Let's roll the videotape if we can. We have several here to show. How does it work? Do you have to tow a plane to the highest possible point and then just let her rip from there?
No,
what happens?
The tow is just
give us the process from A to Z.
We use the energy from the air to stay up, and the tow we do need some way to get an initial start, but the tow is just a short part of our flight, and it gets us up to just high enough to where we can start getting lift. Our most common form of lift is what we call thermals, which are created by the sun heating the ground. Like in the summertime around the valley, you see these little dust devils all over the place out in the fields, and you'll see those clouds like in the background there are called cumulus clouds, and those are all the cumulus clouds and the dust devils are formed by thermals. And when you see the birds that soar, like hawks, eagles, buzzards, things like birds like that, you see them circle. That's what we use in most of our flying. There's other kinds of lift, like what Jan alluded to, ridge lift, which is where the wind hits the side of a hill, and it has to go up to get over the hill. So you can ride along in front of on the upwind side of that hill and get lift. And then there's also a form of lift called mountain wave, which is, I don't know if people have heard of what we call the Sierra wave. Sometimes you'll see these peculiar clouds over the Sierras, even from over here in Fresno. You can see them. They're on the east side, and they're long and kind of flat. They're called lenticular clouds, and those are signs of what we call a mountain wave.
They look like UFOs.
And that's
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's where we can get the really, really high altitudes in the mountain wave.
Guys, tell me, how high do you have to go to start?
2,000 feet is pretty typical for a good day.
Let's see, 2,000 feet, that's not all that high.
It's not, and there's a couple of other methods beside the tow plane. There's a winch, a powered winch, and there's also auto towing, which we did some of that. And in those two situations, you generally get off at 800, 900 feet, and if there's lift, if you can get yourself centered in it, then you can climb out of there. So.
But like at Avenal, we have lift over the mountains to the west of the field there that can go as high as 12 or 14,000 feet. And we'll take a 2,000-foot tow. Then we get thermals and climb on up into that higher lift and get up, to 12,000 or even higher sometimes.
Okay, roll the videotape again. We've got tons of video here to show you. It's just... I can't get enough of the video. I mean, that's what this whole show is about. I'm glad this is television and not radio, because you can actually see this. And you're not looking at the same video. These are different clips. They may look the same. How high is that right there?
That is probably, again, that's me with my camera on my tail. That's probably 5,000 feet, maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the valley just, the look of the valley changes the higher and higher and higher you go. The other day, when I flew up to Hollister, I was at about 12,500, and it's just incredible.
Really?
You can get up and you can see Salinas, the coastline there at Salinas. You look back, you see Morro Bay and Morro Rock. You look over to the east, and you see the Sierras. It's just, the view is incredible. Of course, this now is on approach to landing. You can see the spoilers are open, which those red things coming up out of the wing there, that helps us descend and slow down, basically.
Would it be different if you lived in Colorado and you were sailing? Would the air feel different? Would it be different in terms of takeoff and landing and gliding? Hang on, caller.
It would probably be stronger in Colorado than we have.
It would go up higher there. Sometimes they get really, really high back in that part of the country, what they call the Front Range.
Hang on, caller.
In front of the Rocky Mountains, like where the Air Force Academy is, Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
They fly gliders there as part of their training for their students.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, my concern, well, not concern, but was when you're up in the air. I mean, when you take off from an airport like in Chandler, or I don't know, your base probably in Avenal somewhere there with wind. Are you in contact with the controllers? Because there's airplanes flying around, and I hadn't seen any airplanes near you guys, as you're gliding. But that would be one thing that I would be looking out for, because somebody doesn't know, like, gliding or what happens. Are you always in contact with a controller, or do you have radio contact with them? That's the question for me.
Well, at Avenal, we're pretty far away from most of the major traffic in the valley. There are some jets that fly out of Lemoore, but they don't really fly right over Avenal where we're usually flying. But when you get into the higher performance gliders like Jan's, and you can get up to altitudes and even fly into areas where there is traffic. And we do have radios in those gliders, and they even have transponders now, which make them show up on the controller's radar. We're flying visual flight rules usually. So unless we fly right into an airport where there's a control tower, which we can do, and we have flown out of Chandler a few times. If we get in those kind of areas, there's what they call a Class D, which is around the airport with a control tower. Then we do have to use the radio to contact the controllers. Or if we flew in, and they don't like us to fly into Class C, which is like Fresno Air Terminal.
Some of the newest technology is a collision avoidance system. In fact, I've got my glider at home now, just installing mine, and it's a receiver and transmitter both, and basically there's a small display that will show us if there's any other aircraft in our vicinity and if they become a collision threat.
Yeah.
So we're starting to actually installing some of the technology that's in airline and military aircraft in our gliders.
Wow. So you've got the latest technology then inside the cockpit.
We do.
And is it a two-seater, a one-seater, or do the gliders vary?
The majority, I would say, are single seat. There are two-seaters. Of course, all the trainers are two-seaters.
Yeah.
And then some of the higher performance are like our club president, Morgan Hall. His glider is a two-seater. It's a very high-performance fiberglass glider, and
wow,
he enjoys taking people up for rides. Maybe you, John.
I don't know. You know, I get sweaty palms. I get a little nervous every time I fly, and I've flown a ton, but it doesn't mean I like it. but you know, maybe I'm thinking just it's going through my mind that it looks like it can be safer. Because you don't have an engine to begin with, but if you're flying in a plane that has an engine and the engine goes out,
well, then
are you going to? What are you going to do?
You're a glider, like a low-performance glider.
Right.
Yeah, this thing doesn't have an engine to begin with, so what's the worry? You don't have to worry about an engine going out. You're gliding anyway, and you're going to glide home safely most times, right? Do you ever have any crash landings?
And we're both just to add to what you said, we're both powered pilots.
Yeah.
And we do train on how to do off-field landings in case the engine quits. But we have done off-field landings, not crash landings, but we have done off-field landings where we lost lift and had to land in a field. Or
it's kind of rough.
The other day I landed at Taft and got to watch the skydivers there.
A little bumpy sometimes, or on the landing?
It can be, depending on what you land on.
Yeah. All right. Well, as long as it's not like a watermelon patch or something, then you're safe. Hey, we're going to be back in a moment with Alex Caldwell and Jan Zanuto from the Central California Soaring/Gliding Club. It's been around since the 70s. 436-MeTV option 11 got an open line. Back in a moment.
It's almost time.
Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent and Superman.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman
fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the MeTV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The Adventures of Superman.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified #1 rated high-efficiency Cabrio from Whirlpool Place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Whirlpool Cabrio laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
Ask an Expert Day here on Connect with me. Alex Caldwell is here. Jan Zanuto from the Central California Soaring Club. Alex, you have had your pilot's license since, the age of 19? That was only about 2 years ago. And you've been soaring since 1970. You grew up in San Diego. You're now a flight instructor. And Jan, you've been in aviation, since the 70s. You flew in the Air Force. You maintain jets. You're basically a mechanic, are you not?
Correct.
And
I have my mechanics ratings.
You're also a flight instructor? Or?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Just a pilot.
Alex is?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for gliders, though, not for powered airplanes.
Right. And you are a mechanic for powered planes and gliders?
Yes. My rating would allow me to work on and inspect either of the two.
Yeah, which you've done. And you currently work for SkyWest?
I do.
Right. What do you do there?
That's my day job. I'm a developer of training materials for the training department there at SkyWest.
Wow. Okay, and you've been there how long?
For the maintenance guys. SkyWest since 2001.
Holy cow, that's quite a long time, almost 14 years.
I've been in the same hangar since 1990. It's switched.
Wow.
It's switched a few airlines.
That's right. So here's an email question. If you needed to climb for safety, is there a stall speed?
Yes.
Yeah,
there is.
There is a stall speed.
Explain that if you would.
Well, it's an angle. Stalling in an aircraft is not always dependent upon speed. It's dependent upon the angle of attack of the wing. However, if you slow the airplane down to a certain speed, you're going to reach that angle. So that angle, that speed is about, in my glider here that you see, it's about 38 miles an hour. So you don't have really much option of a, let's say, a zoom, I think is what they're probably referring to. If you were coming up on some terrain that you'd be able to pull up and kind of zoom over it. You know, that's not really something in a sailplane that you want to be counting on in the first place. You try not to get yourself in that situation to where you're having to do these.
So stalling has nothing to do with speed, or very little to do with it.
It's always dependent upon the angle of attack of the wing.
Okay.
But that does correlate with speed in general. We always say speed. The speed is life. Means because if you're real close to the ground, you don't want to stall. So
because
when you stall, the airflow kind of breaks up over the top of the wing instead of flowing smoothly. It separates and starts burbling, and then so you get a sudden rapid decrease in the lift, and so the glider will kind of drop quite a bit and lose a lot of altitude quickly. So and it takes a certain amount of altitude to recover your flying speed, and if you don't have that much altitude between you and the ground, you're going to smack the ground pretty hard.
What's the speed? What's top speed for one of these?
Well, like our trainers, it's 98 miles per hour.
Okay.
And a glider like Jan's, or like the one I have, it's 146 knots, which is about 160 miles an hour.
And how high can you climb in one of these?
Well, right here, what you're looking at, this is the other day en route up to Hollister, and I was roughly 12,000 feet there.
This is 12,000 feet?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's dependent, of course, on how high the lift is in the area that you're flying. So ultimately, we're not supposed to go above 18,000 feet because that's what's called Class A airspace. Unless we're there's a contest and we've gotten a special waiver from air traffic control to go above that altitude.
Yeah. Right. So, and top speed would be what?
Well, usually when you're flying like cross country, you don't, even though you could go like in my glider 146 knots, you'd rarely go that fast. It's
what's
really
normal?
Well, we'll cruise like
on average
anywhere from 80 knots if it's not very strong lift to, if we're getting really good lift, we can cruise up to 100 knots or 110 knots. The fastest I've ever flown a complete flight, say about 225, 250 miles, I think it was about 102 miles an hour, and that's the average speed, because some of the time I was circling and climbing, and then so in between the thermals I was probably going about 120.
You're coming up on a mountain here, but you can't exactly pull up. You either have to be above it or you got to turn to the left or right.
Right.
Correct, and you'll generally go to the windward side, not the leeward side.
Yeah.
This is again one of those low lift days where we're just kind of hugging the terrain and not really getting much altitude.
What if you got in trouble here? I mean, what would the trouble be? You don't have an engine to begin with, so what could possibly happen in a glider, unlike a regular aircraft that's powered by an engine?
Well, the biggest concern, one of the biggest concerns, is mid-air collision with another glider.
That's your biggest concern?
And that's because we fly so close to each other.
Okay.
And we always wear a parachute when we fly, just for that.
You do wear a parachute. Okay, right. But your biggest concern is collisions with other gliders. But what about any kind? So, in a glider, is there such a thing as mechanical failure?
They're very simple machines, actually. There are very few moving parts. Yes, Murphy's Law, of course, but typically...
What could possibly go wrong? A wing could break off, right?
Well,
I doubt it.
Well, they're very well engineered. I mean, they're designed by...
Sleek, right?
Well, they're designed by aeronautical engineers, the same people that design your Airbuses and things like that.
Yeah,
like
look at
to
that.
design
Whoa,
gliders.
man.
So the structures and everything are very good. One of the things that can happen is we're allowed to put the wings on and assemble them ourselves, like we put them in a trailer, bring them back from an outlanding or something, and then we put them back together. So if you don't connect all the controls properly, maybe you take off and, oh my gosh, my controls aren't hooked up, and
oh yeah,
something like that, and
yeah,
then
you're in trouble.
That's a worry, yeah. So
yeah, but you do all the checks before you take off, I'm sure.
There's checklists. It's all regulated by the FAA. We train people that actually start in gliders and can progress on to other forms of flying. We have 2 students that started flying gliders. It's soloed when they're 14, because you can solo glider at 14.
Wow.
Whereas power, you have to be 16.
Well, that's the day that there were some people in a Jeep up on top of that mountain.
Those 2 students are now flying C-17s in the and went to the Air Force Academy. Now they're flying C-17s.
Yeah, for some reason, I think I'd feel safer flying in one of these with either one of you guys than I would a regular airplane. It just seems so surreal and so safe, and what could possibly go wrong unless the airplane broke apart. But another email question: are the gliders equipped with radios and flaps? I think you already said yes, right?
Yes.
What kind of equipment do you have in there?
Well, we'll have a standard 720 channel comm that a powered airplane would, and it's powered by a battery that we charge up before flight. We don't have any kind of a generator, so before you fly, you'll charge your battery or your batteries, and that's just a regular aviation radio with a microphone and a speaker.
What about fly? I mean, we saw some of the video there. I don't know if we have any other videos. We don't. We're out. But most of those videos, if not all of them, were in no man's land, rural areas. What about flying in concentrated areas, like over a city, like Fresno or Merced? Does that get a little worrisome, in case you got to put it down?
Well, that's the regulations that we fly by, the federal aviation regulations, tell the pilot in command that it's incumbent upon him to become acquainted with and familiar with all segments of the flight. So if you're going to fly into an area, or it's possible that you're going to fly into an area where there's a controlled airspace, then you need to know the boundaries of that airspace and stay out of it. And you need to know the radio frequencies of the towers or of the approach controls.
Okay.
So that you yourself, you're responsible for everything that happens on that flight. And you're supposed to stay out of these controlled airspaces and keep separation.
Well, we are allowed to actually land at places that have control towers, like Bakersfield, for example.
Fresno.
Or Chandler. Chandler doesn't have a control tower, but Fresno, if you needed to, you could land there. But you do have to have the same equipment that's required for anybody else to enter that type of airspace, which is, for Fresno, it's a Class C, so you have to have a transponder plus a radio. For airports that are not Class C, like Class D, which would be like, say, Bakersfield, then you have to have a 2-way radio at least flying there.
Okay. Hey, we're out of time, guys. Come back again. I appreciate it. I'm going to have another show on this. I know I am. I love this topic. And Alex Caldwell, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having us. We really
Thank you very much. And Jan, I appreciate your time. Good meeting you.
Thank you, John.
Good meeting both of you. That is Alex Caldwell, Jan Zanuto, Central California Soaring Club. We're back with our program with our third guest of the day here on Connect With Me in just a moment.
I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. Francisco Molina Nieve has been on the run since March 2008. The police and the FBI need your help tracking this coward down. He's wanted for brutally beating his girlfriend and for the use of a firearm. He has 3 freckles and a crescent shape under his right eye. Call the Colorado FBI at 303-629-7171 if you know where he's hiding.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Watch Dr. TV on over-the-air channel 13.9.
Is taking care of laundry taking too much of your time? Have you become a missing mom? With a new fast, efficient washer and dryer from Ventura TV Video Appliance, you'll spend more of your day the way you want. Save now on Frigidaire's Advanced Affinity Laundry Pair. Let Frigidaire save you energy, water, and time. Don't spend your life on laundry. Upgrade today at Ventura TV Video Appliance and save.
We need help to find this missing child. April Andrews went missing when she was 15 years old. She was last seen in Pea Ridge, Arkansas in November of 2006. This is what we believe she looks like today at 23. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring April Andrews home.
Take a look at this. Let's play.
This is too hip for you. I'll slow down.
Let's play.
Watch all your favorite classic game shows on Buzzer TV, KBBC Digital Channel 13.7.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highway.
That's for us, good buddy. The Men of Chips are on BTV.
Hi, I'm John Baker. I'm John Baker. He's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there!
Officer Poncherello, ma'am. Frank Poncherello. Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program with our third guest of the day here on Connect With Me on MeTV Fresno. It's always good to see Blanton Simmons, the former basketball player at Marquette University, played for Al McGuire, of course, back in the day, right?
Back in the day, quite a few days ago.
Yeah, quite a few days ago. Before I get into your mentoring program, I do want to ask you about the NBA Finals and what you thought there.
Really exciting. I was wrong. I thought LeBron James was going to win, but his team was decimated at the end, and I'm very happy for the Warrior fans. I'm not a fan of any particular team, so it didn't hurt my feelings that they won. I thought a different result was going to occur, but it was really a fun finals to watch.
Yeah, I think LeBron, maybe he didn't appear to have enough help.
That was the situation.
You know what I mean? He didn't have the supporting cast that I think that the Warriors had. They had a stronger bench. They had more players playing more minutes, and LeBron got tired.
Yeah, great depth was what won it for him in the end, and they were a great team, and they played as a team all year long, so they deserved the championship, and I'm quite happy that it's back in the Bay Area.
I'm happy for the Splash Brothers, and I'm happy for the Warrior organization. 40-year drought is a long time.
That's a long time. Many of your viewers, I'm certain, weren't even alive when they won last. I remember it well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I do too. I think they played a game or two at the Cow Palace during the finals back in '74-'75, and I remember Al Attles as the coach, great coach, and they had the great Rick Barry, and Clifford Ray was the center. Remember Clifford Ray?
Clifford Ray, Rick Barry, Phil Smith.
Yep.
Charles, someone, I forgot his last name.
Charles Johnson.
Charles Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had quite an interesting team, and they were the underdogs in that series, and they ended up sweeping Washington Bullets.
Jamal Wilkes, didn't they have
Jamal Wilkes, I believe, was on that team. I'm not certain.
Yeah.
That's so long ago, it's hard to remember.
Hard to remember. Hey, I do want to talk about your mentoring program. We got some videotape here. It's at the Frank H. Ball Community Center. You need some help, so you're looking for a few donations. Talk a little bit about the program as we roll the videotape, because we're always glad to help out here. Anytime you're talking about mentoring young people and kids in particular, and this program deals with, these look like middle school kids, right?
The age ranges from 12 to 16, so we do have a few older kids as well, and we mix them in with the younger kids because we're working primarily on fundamentals. But the biggest thing that we're doing, I think, the contribution that we're making is that we're giving these youngsters a place to be this summer and learning some new skills and providing them with an option other than being just out on the streets.
Yeah. Do they have to have the grades to make the cut here?
We're pushing grades for them. We're not necessarily demanding that they have grades coming in, but we emphasize the academics, and we make certain that all of them are aware of our intention to make them the best student that they can possibly be. So we're working with your Gubian academic centers to provide some tutoring assistance to them or for them, and this is what we're also looking for to raise funds to help do.
Yeah, and it's, how difficult is it to get children in here? Gosh, I'd love to get my son in that program because, I hate it when kids, they got the summer off, they can do what they want, but they need to stay physically active, and that's the problem I have with my kids. Staying physically active, it's so important, Blanton.
Well, you can see in the video there, we're running them back and forth with wind sprints. You see the older kids interspersed with the younger kids because they're drills that are applicable to all of them to make them better players. And
Right.
it's quite interesting and fun to watch.
Hey, how can people donate? How can people help your mentoring program if they want to become a sponsor? What do they do?
Well, they can contact me personally at 559-575-0886, or they can go to OTB, which stands for Off the Dribble, OTD basketball @gmail.com, and I'll personally respond to them.
Okay, and I love the fact that you're dealing with at-risk kids because you're keeping them off the street. And when you say at-risk, what are they at risk for?
Well, falling victim to all of the temptations that could lead them down a path that would destroy their lives. And I'm sure it happens every day in the city, and especially in the summer when children don't have a structured environment and something to look forward to. The temptations to get involved in things that will be destructive are pretty prevalent. There are a lot of opportunities to do things that aren't good for you.
Yeah. How did you do it when you were a kid? How'd you stay out of trouble?
I lived on the playground. My dad died when I was 4 years of age. My mother worked from that time on. At that time, pedophiles weren't as prevalent as they are today.
Yeah.
Kids didn't have guns.
Or drugs.
Or drugs. We didn't even know what drugs were at that time.
Yeah.
Only drugs were pharmaceuticals. And my mother, at 7 years old, when I was 7 years old, she trusted me enough to send me to the playground and to tell me to never leave for the entire day, so I lived on the playground.
Yeah, and that's where you learned your skill of playing basketball, and that famous, that pull-up jumper was just phenomenal of yours. Just
thank you very
amazing.
much. That's why we rebranded what we're doing, and we're calling it Off the Dribble Basketball Academy, and that's why the new address is otdbasketball@gmail.com. That's the email address, and if you want to go to our brand new website, it's offthedribblebasketballacademy.com.
And let me ask you something, because we talked about the Warriors here as we roll another piece of videotape, and you look at a guy like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Both their fathers, of course, played NBA basketball, so they did have a little bit of an advantage. But I've never met these two individuals, but from what I've read, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson are just phenomenal human beings off the court. Are they role models?
That's what I've heard before. I think they embrace that position of being a role model. Some guys kind of reject it. They don't want to be role models. I think both of them are very, very stellar individuals who embrace that.
They're well-grounded, in other words.
Very much so. Both very family-oriented. I happen to know Michael Thompson, who's Clay's father. I met him several years ago in Portland when he was with the Portland Trailblazers. Very nice man. I've never met Del Curry, but also has a tremendous reputation for being just accessible and a decent human being that really gives back to the community.
Yeah. And, of course, you know, we talk about role models. Can these kids look up to some athletes, or should they, in your opinion, look up to people like you, their coach, or can they look more toward their parents? Because I think their parents are more role models than, you know, but the parents oftentimes are not there for whatever reason.
Well, the ideal situation, of course, is to be able to look to your parents as role models, and unfortunately they aren't always capable of being that, because either they're absent or they're just not qualified to do it. Some people get into being parenting at such an early age that they don't have all the tools they require to be the best possible parent they can be. But so we try to fill that gap and provide some guidance for some of these young kids and make them feel important. And part of one of the first steps that I take with each one of them is making them say their names clearly and enunciating who they are, because you're important.
What's the purpose of doing that?
I want them to feel important. I want them to understand that each person has value, and by recognizing them, calling them by name very early on, I insist that they tell me their first and last name. They speak it clearly, and they stand up straight, shake my hand firmly, and show some pride in themselves, because if you aren't proud of yourself, it's hard to make someone else respect you.
One of the players that the Warriors looked up to, the current players of today, the ones that won the NBA title, and they took advice from, believe it or not, was the great, the one and only Jerry West, who worked as an advisor for the team. In fact, several players, they flew to LA just to consult with him. So these players are consulting with you and your experience. You're kind of the Jerry West of this whole organization here. You can offer them what?
Well,
experience?
I can offer them the knowledge, a shortcut to the knowledge that I gained through a lot of years of experience, and I try to make them aware of what's going to be required of them to go to the next level, to play in college, and even if they don't play in college, to be able to attend college, to aspire to higher education so that they can improve their lives and their opportunities.
Yeah, because they are somebody important, and their lives do matter.
Absolutely.
And they can make a difference. Do these kids believe they can make a difference in the world?
Well, I try and impress that upon them, that it's important for them to do their best, to be the best possible role model they can be for their younger brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Because they look up to them, and it really helps the younger kids when they see the older ones achieve and aspire to achieve.
Quickly, before we run out of time, your phone number again?
It is 559-575-0886.
Okay, and that is if you want to be a mentor and a sponsor for the mentoring and tutoring program that takes place at Frank H. Ball Community Center with Blanton Simmons. Good to see you. Oh, you're always welcome here. You know that.
Well, thank you. I'll come back soon.
Okay, you contact our guy Marcus or contact me personally. We'll get you on.
Thank you very much, John. It's always a pleasure.
My pleasure, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Blanton Simmons, our guest today. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you back here tomorrow with another great athlete. Hey, one great athlete sitting here. Another one will be sitting here tomorrow. Tony Lopez, 3-time world boxing champion. Back tomorrow. Have a good day.